What's up, guys? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another episode. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the most common mistakes that beginners make. It took me many years to figure out what I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes. And if you avoid these mistakes, I guarantee you that your Pega code quality will improve dramatically, earning you a lot of respect and recognition from your colleagues. Let's dive in with the first mistake. Number one is poor data modeling. Let's say your onboarding case in Pega needs to capture candidates' details like name, date of birth, email, and phone number. What many beginners do is that they create individual properties or fields directly in the data model. And reference them individually in views. Which is the wrong way to do it. Why? Because these fields are related to a single entity, the candidate, and therefore should be grouped together. This approach fails to consolidate them. The correct approach is to first create a candidate data object or data type which lets you combine these related fields into one unit. Then in your data model, create a data relationship that refers to this candidate data object. And finally, reference that data relationship in your view. Imagine one big complex data transform or an activity rule that runs 30 lines of code or more. Can you imagine how risky and painful it could be to change even one line of code in it in the future? You might end up spending countless hours understanding the logic, assessing the impact of the change, and running endless regression tests. For easier maintenance, always follow modular approach. Break down your data transform or activity rule into several smaller, manageable pieces. For example, instead of writing one big data transform that deals with everything, a candidate's personal information, professional history, educational qualifications, and more, create separate, focused data transform rules, one for each data segment, and then reference them all in the main data transform. This approach ensures that each data transform is independent and easier to understand, maintain, and update. By doing so, you reduce overall complexity, lower the required effort, and minimize the risk of future changes. And one more thing, don't be lazy about adding comments to your data transform or activity rules. I've seen so many people who do not take it seriously. But trust me, your comments play a huge role in making your code easier to read, understand, and maintain. Another common mistake beginners make is not handling exceptional scenarios in the code, either forgetting them or not giving them due attention. For example, let's say you have a job scheduler that runs daily to update claim records that match certain criteria. Every time it runs, it first searches the database for the matching records, then iterates over them, loads each one into memory, updates certain fields, and saves the changes back to the database. Now it is possible that on some days none of the claims meet the criteria, so the database search returns nothing and the scheduler does zero work. Ever seen that happen? That's an exceptional scenario and your code must handle it. Make sure your code includes some sort of mechanism to notify you every time it happens. It could be something as simple as a log entry or something advanced like an automated email. That way you're always in the loop about what's going on. For example, in this case, when the database search returns no claims, the process jumps all the way down to step J1, skipping all the steps in between, and makes an entry in the logs. Similarly, exceptions can occur when the scheduler loads a claim record into memory to update it, or when it tries to save the updated record back to the database. For instance, when loading a claim record into memory, the scheduler might fail to acquire a lock on it, resulting in an exception. Make sure to handle that by writing it to the logs so you can investigate the problem later. Or there might be errors in the claim record you just loaded, which could lead to an exception when you try to save the record back to the database. Again, make sure to log the exception to help with troubleshooting later. Never use meaningless names like param.test or param.test1 for parameters. Too many people take a very casual approach when choosing names for parameters and properties. This casual approach can lead to confusion later on. Instead, take a moment to pick appropriate and meaningful names. Also, avoid using abbreviations as much as possible. Even in certain cases where you must use them, avoid something unclear like JT for job title or E-type for employment type or RMGR for reporting manager. That might be hard for others to understand. Another important point to remember is, since parameter and property names cannot include spaces, use Pascal a case like candidate name here, where each word starts with a capital letter for improved readability. Avoid the mistake of hard coding property values in your code. For example, setting a risk factor equal to zero point 0.5. Never do that, as it can quickly hurt your credibility as a Pega developer. While a risk factor might be 0.5 today, it could change to something else tomorrow. If you hard code it like that everywhere in your code, you will have to update it in every place later, which adds complexity, increases effort, may cause errors or inconsistencies, and drives up maintenance costs. Instead, use a configurable setting. For example, here the risk factor is obtained from an application setting that is initially set to 0.5. If risk factor changes in the future, say to 0.7, you only need to update the value in this one spot, which makes maintenance super easy. And that's not all. You can use application settings not only for business parameters like risk factor, but also for things like endpoint URLs. Other than application settings, you can use data types for storing and retrieving setting values. For example, in this case, risk factor is read using a data page from a data type. That's it for now. Hope you found these tips helpful. Let me know in the comments below which tip was your favorite. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.